Hello everyone. So in this video, let us go over the first four problems from the latest Lead Code Weekly Contest 272. So as you can see, this program is hosted by Amazon and the problems are very easy in compared to the other Lead Code problems. And what you can see here is that the first person has solved all the four problems under 4 minutes, like close to 5 minutes. But yeah, that is the amount of level these problems are because that's a very simple. So we'll go over them in a very quick manner. They are not too difficult. The first problem is find first palindromic string in the array. It just states that you are given an array of different strings, as you can see the input words, and you have to find out the first palindromic string. If it exists, then you have to first print out that. Else, if there is no palindromic string among all the strings that is given to you, you have to print an empty string that is like this. Now how you can do that? Easily, just iterate over all the strings. If you find out a palindromic string, you return that out, else you return a empty string. Now how can you find out palindromic string? There can be multiple ways. The first way can be like you can check the first and last character, the second and the second last character, and so on till the middle. You can either check that, or else there is also one fast way. You can just reverse, like you can take a copy of the original like the string, reverse it, okay, and then match out these two strings. Because palindromic means that the same string is like the two strings, the palindromic string is same if it is read from the start to the end or from the end to the start. So if I reverse that string, then also that string should remain same. Even in simple terms, that if I have a string like this a b c b a, if I reverse this string, reverse means that I just write down from the back a b c b a, both the strings should be same. And if you just match that out, the answer is like it is a palindromic string, you just print it out. Nothing too difficult. As you can see, this is just iterating over all the words in the array you have, checking that whether the ith string is a palindrome or not. If it is a palindrome, we just return at this point, printing out the string. We don't have to go any further because we have to print out the first string. In this check function, what we'll do, we'll make a copy of the original string, reverse it, and just check that whether it is equal or not. And if it is not equal and no other string is palindrome in this given array, then we return a empty string. Cool. Let us move on to the next problem. Next problem is adding spaces to a string. It just says that you are given a string like this. It doesn't have any spaces. You have a array that has zeroth indexing and has that you have to place spaces at the 8th position or 13th position or 15th position, like or not or and, okay, you have to place spaces at these positions. Now you just have to print out the strings after placing out these spaces. So can you see that this is like nothing complicated? You just have to iterate over the string. Whenever you find out these indexes, you just print out a space at that point of time and just move forward. Now you can just take two pointers, okay? One pointer is moving along the string and one pointer is moving along the spaces array, okay? So also it is given that it is like the spaces are strictly increasing. You have to also see that maybe it can happen that the spaces are not ordered, then you cannot use two pointers because you can sort it out and then use that. What I mean by this is, let's say that you have a string that is ABC and you have to put a space at 2 and 5th in, like after the second index and the first index, the 5th index. So 0 1 2 3 4 5, and let's say it is D, that is 6. Now what you can do here is that you can put one pointer play like exactly at the first position of the spaces, and you'll do a for loop over this string as well. Whenever you find out that the index you want to place the first space, that is 2, whenever you reach there, you stop, place a space, and then move forward, okay? And then also because you have placed 2, now you can move down to the next space, that is 5th. Now your for loop is continue moving on till it reaches 5, and then you again put a space there because it is sorted. So it means that the next number will always be greater than the previous number. If it is not sorted, then it can happen that I can miss one space. So it is also necessary that it should be sorted out, because in the problem statement it is given that it is sorted out. Nothing to worry about. You can just use this. Nothing much complicated. It's very simple. What you can see here is that I have taken an answer string to store out the final answer. This is the pointer that will like say at which point I am on the spaces vector. This is n iterated over this string that is given to you on which you want to place spaces. I just have to check that. It can happen that my j can go out of bound because j is moving along the spaces array, and it can happen that my j has taken all the spaces, now it gone out of bound. So don't have to like take care of that condition also. So j should be inbound and the spaces I want to put is space of j. If that is the index I'm on the ith index. If those index matches out, I'll put a space and then put the ith character, and also increment my j value, because now I've put a space at this point of time. Let us move down to the next index in the spaces array so that I will see what is the new space I want to put. Or else if there is no space, I doesn't match out with this particular character, will simply move my I to the next iteration and take that current character and add it to the final string answer and return the string answer. Nothing much complicated, it's very simple. You can just go over the code once again and it will become more clear to you. Fine. Okay, let us move down to the third problem. The third problem is also not too difficult. It just states that number of smooth descent periods of a stock. It actually states that you are given an integer array prices representing the daily price history of a stock, where price of I is the stock, like stock price of the ith day. So different, like a single stock at the different days, you are giving the stock prices. Now a smooth descent price of a stock consisting of one or more contiguous days, such that the price on each day is lower than the previous day. Like on the previous day, if the price is lower, it is decreasing by 1 and it is preceding by exactly 1. So let's say the first day it is 8, then it is 7, then 6 and 5. So all of them is like a decreasing smooth descent period, decreasing period. Now you have to count out the number of smooth descent periods. Okay, now how I can say that, like I can just take out the first example, it will make it more clear. 3, 2, 1, 4. Okay, let us delete them out. It is 3, 2, 1, 4. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, 4. Fine. So the length 1 period can also be smooth descent period. Okay, so the answer can be 3. It can be 2 as well, which means that a descent period of only length 1, that is only 2. A descent period of only length 1, so it's like 2 and 1 and 4. Now let us find out descent periods of length 2. So as you can see in this, the stock price is decreasing, 3 and 2. So this can be taken as one of the options, that is 3, 2. 2, 1 can also be taken as one of the examples. So from 2 to 1 it is going down. So 1 to 4 it is not going down, it is going up, so we don't have to take that. Also from 3 to 2 to 1, this is also like continuously going down, 1 at each step. So it is like also 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1. So the answer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 are there, as you can see the answer is 7. So 7 like as you can see periods are there in which like it is smoothly descending out. Now you might understood that okay, you have to just count out the number of descending parts, like, but let's take one example so that it will become more intuitive to you and more clear to you. Let us take one example, that is 4, 3, 2, 1. How many like periods are there? So as you can see that it is continuously decreasing out. Like you can easily see that you have to first find out the length of the total continuous decreasing out. It is 4, 3, 2, 1. So it is of length 4. Now in a segment of length 4, how many sub segments are there that are decreasing? How can you tell that? Now you can see that it is just like simple like permutation combination thing. I can start out my, so because I know that all the 4 numbers are decreasing, I have defined my like segment. What you can simply do here is that take your first element here, like the first position, because I want to find a segment, sub segment here. So the sub segment can be like this, 1 and 4, or 1 to 3, or 4 to, sorry, 1 to 3, it means like from the segment can only consist of 4, like a stock price of only 4, or from 4 to 3, this is also decreasing, from 4, 3 to, this is also decreasing, 4, 3 to 1, it is also decreasing. So I have 4 options starting at the first price. What I mean by this is, if I have a segment, I want to find a sub segments such that the sub segment should start at the first index, that is this index. How many decreasing sub segments I can form? I can form 4. Okay, now starting from the third index, like sorry, this index, how many sub segments are there that are decreasing? So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So plus 3. Then starting from this index, how many decreasing are there? So this 1 and this is 2, so plus 2. Then last for 1. This is just like, so if the total length of segment is n, it is just addition of n into n plus 1, sorry, n minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3 till n, or like, sorry, 1. So it is just a summation of n into n plus 1 divided by 2. Hope you get the point. So this is just a simple observation, you can just build it out, that if you have a contiguous decreasing segment of length, let's say n, the number of sub segments that can form from that segment that are decreasing by length 1 is equal to n into 1 plus 1 divided by 2. Why? Because You can take any segment starting from the first segment, and then there are like n segments. Then starting from the second segment, there are n minus 1 segments, and you just have to add all of them, and that's the whole amount of segments you can get. Similarly, what you have to do next now in this problem is that you have to just find out contiguous subsegments, like the contiguous segments, sorry, that are decreasing. Okay, you just have to find out that and just print out that. So as you can see in this, so you can just initialize it with 1, that I have seen one segment of length that is decreasing. Now if the next number is 1 decreasing than the previous number, which means that it is like continuing in the previous segment, you can just add it out. So I have seen a segment that is of length 2 that is continuously decreasing. Then this is again decreasing by 1, so I've seen a segment that is continuously decreasing. Now I have seen a segment that is of length 4, which means that it has increased. So which means that it is not continuously decreasing. So it means that I have found out a segment that is continuously decreasing of length 3. So for this, how many segments I will form? So 3 into n plus 1, that is 4 divided by 2, that is equal to 6. So 6 segments I can form just using this subsegment. Then I have only one segment, I will just add one of that is equal to 7. So total is 7. I hope you get the point how I calculated this out. Let's move on to the code part now, that will become more clear, and it is not too much difficult also. What I've done here is that I've pushed back 1 to the power of 6 at the end. Why I've done that, you might think. What will happen is that, let's say I have a segment that is this only, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I will continuously count out how many numbers are there that are continuously decreasing out. I use a for loop. I will check that, okay, this is decreasing, this is decreasing, decreasing, and I will go out of bound. Like I will just run out of the for loop. This program will terminate because I have not calculated anything. My calculation will only be done when I find out an outlier. Outlier means that a number that is, it is continuously decreasing, and then there's a number that is increasing. So before starting a new segment, a decreasing segment, I will calculate out how many segments are there, subsegments are there, using this segment that we have calculated out. But because if it's continuously decreasing out, we'll just run out of the for loop. So there are two ways. Either when you run out of the for loop, you externally check that what is the amount of decreasing segment you have calculated out and add the answer. Or else there is one more better way. What you can do is that you add a dummy value at the end, because you know that the maximum value, you already know that you will only stop when there's a very high value. Okay, at that point of time the segment will break. So what you can see here is that the maximum value tends out to be 10 to the 5. Now if you put a very large number, that is 10 to the 6 at the end of this number, whenever I'm doing a for loop, whenever I hit a last number, it is very large. It will obviously hit this condition and it will break at this point of time, and thus this segment will be completed out and I will take that segment, okay, and calculate the answer for that. So that's why I just push back a very large number at the end that is more than the amount of prices in the price history. And you can either not do that, you can just do a simple for loop, but in the end, before closing out, returning out the answer, you have to also see that if there is some more contiguous segment that is left for which you have to calculate the answer. Fine, this is the total, this is the count of answers, iterate over from the first index because you are comparing with the last index. What you will do, if the previous index minus this index is equal to 1, which means that it is continuously decreasing out, you increment by total. Total means that you increment your segment length, that still it is decreasing out, don't do anything. But whenever you find out an outlier that is more higher, then what you'll do, you'll add count into total into total plus 1 divided by 2, that is n into n plus 1 divided by 2 to the count value, so that how many subsegments will be formed by this segment that you have just calculated out, that is completely decreasing out. And then you make your total again to 1. Why you make your total equal to 1? Because now this is the outlier, that is, let's say that you start from 4, that next number is 4, which is 3, 2, 1, 4. So from 4 again, you have taken the first number. My point is that 4 is also the first number in the next segment. So you have to also take account of that also. If you just look into the code, it will become more clear to you. But total equal to 1 means that because now you're starting a new segment from which you are calculating out the decreasing elements. Because 4 is in the next segment, it should be taken into the next segment as a count. So if it is taken in the next segment, it is taking one space. One space means that total is equal to 1. And the end just print out the count. Fine, that is the third problem. The fourth problem is a little bit good, but if you have done some little bit blind programming, it will become more intuitive to you. The problem statement just states that find out the minimum operations to make the array k increasing. So an array is k increasing such that an array is called k increasing if array of I minus k is smaller than equal to array of I. So if you do a jump of k positions, then every kth number should be greater than the previous kth number. So you have taken the example that is 415262. That is given to the example, and k is equal to 2, which means that if you take the first element, then 2 steps ahead the element should be greater than or equal to that. So as you can see, the 0th index, that is 4, it is like, and 2 steps ahead, that is 5, it is greater than or equal to 4. Now taking the next element, so if I just draw it out, it will become more clear to you. 415262. 41562, and k is equal to 2. Now take the first element, move to 2 positions ahead. This element is greater than the previous element. It should be, the next number should be greater than or equal to the previous element. Okay, let us take some another pen. Then take this element, move 2 places ahead. This is also greater than the. So for every element, go to the next k position and check that the number should be greater than or equal to the number from which I am coming from. So 2 is greater than the number I am coming from, that is 1. For 5, as you can see, 6 is greater. For 2, again 2 is greater than equal to. I'm also talking about equal to. So this is a k valid increasing like array. Okay, so the problem statement just states that you are given some k and you have to do some minimum number of operations such that the array should become k increasing by this format. So you can pause this video, nothing too complicated, but if you just take the same example, it will become more intuitive too. I will take it out. Let's take 1, 5. The first very simple thing is that if you are doing k jumps like this, then the next k is this, next k is this, and there's nothing else. So which means that all of these numbers, that is 4, 5 and 6, should be continuously increasing, like greater than or equal to, like the previous number should be greater than or equal to, and I don't intersect with the other numbers. Similarly, if I talk about the other, this, the other number should be greater than or equal to. Okay, so which means that I just have to find out some way to do the minimum number of operations such that these, like these sub arrays, as you can see, should be continuously increasing. So you just have to find out the longest subsequence that is increasing out. So let's say that if you just extract out these, because these arrays are individual, these sub arrays are individual. Let's say that if I extract out this array, that is this 4, 5, 2 and 1, 2, 2, this is continuously increasing, that is fine. But what your task is to just find out the length of the longest increasing subsequence in an array. You have seen that problem, that is you have an array that is, let's say 2, 5, 3, then 7, then 6. You just have to find out the length of the longest increasing subsequence in this array. If you find out that, it actually means that what is the length of the longest numbers that are increasing greater than or equal to that number. And then what you'll do, you'll remove out all the numbers that are not relevant, that are not increasing. And because you're finding out the longest increasing sequence using dynamic programming, then what will happen is that you will find out the most optimized numbers that will form an increasing subarray and like subsegment. And what will happen that you remove out the less numbers and the minimum numbers will be removed from every subarray. So you're talking about this subarray, then this subarray, this subarray. So there are k subarrays because after k the cycle repeats out. So as you can see that after k this comes into the same cycle. So you just have to check for 2. Okay, so if there are 2, k is equal to 2, then you have to just check for 2 as you can see 2 subarrays, and just have to find out the longest increasing subsequence in this subarray. And that's the whole problem. Now there are multiple videos out there to find out the longest increasing subsequence as you can see on this array, but there is one thing that you have to see here is that n is pretty large, as you can see, and in most of the problems, that if you find out the longest equation subsequence, that it takes O of n square time complexity, and then if you use n square time complexity here, then it will do an overflow, or not overflow, TLE. So what will happen here is that you have to do one more optimized what you can say finding out the longest increasing subsequence using n log n approach. I'll just tell you that and then it will become more clear to you. So let us move everything out from the screen. Let us say that I have an array that is 2, 4, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and you just have to find out the longest increasing subsequence. Now what your main task is that if you have known what is the O of n square approach, you can go out and check out other videos. O of n square approach is very easy. What you'll do is that you'll make a DP table for every position and store what is the longest subsequence ending at this index. So ending at the 0th index is, as you can see, 1. So everything is 1. Like initialized with 1, DPS table is initialized with 1, so that every subsequence is ending at 1, which means that there is obviously one subsequence that is strictly increasing of length 1. Then you will continuously move forward and just check it with the previous numbers whether it is pairing with that number, so that it is continuously increasing. As you can see, 4 is greater than 2, so you can make this number 2, which means that 4 and 2 can form an increasing number, and ending at 2, like 2 and 4 can form a increasing subsequence, so that ending at 4 there is a more larger subsequence instead of 1, that is 2. So that is very simple approach. You can understand that it is O of n square approach. But what we are doing in this problem is that we are trying to do in O of n log n. Now how we'll do that? What my approach here is that instead of going to the back and checking for every number, like checking for every number that whether this number is valid and I can take this into a subsequence, what is the longest subsequence I can take, what you can do instead is that you will store out the maximum among them and then change the middle numbers. You might not get confused, I'll tell you everything. But let us take the same example. Let us take that 2, we have 2, okay? Then what we'll do here is that, okay, we'll use binary search here because you can see that we are seeing out log n. So log n means that you are iterating over every number, so it is n, but we are using binary search here. That is why it is log n. Now how you can use binary search here? Let us see that we are talking about the first number, okay? So there is no number in the array. You just assume that there's an array that is of name dp, okay, and there's nothing in this, so I will push 2 in this array. Fine. Now I will check that 4. Now I will check that placing 4, like 4 can have some positions to be placed in this dp array. It can be placed to next of it. I will just check that whether placing dp, like whether placing 4 in this dp array is making it increasing. So how I can check that? I will first use like binary search to find out the position of placing 4 in this array. And if it is at the end, it actually means that I can place it to the end and I will keep on increasing my dp array. So I can find out that it is 4. So obviously if I use binary search on an array of length only 1, that is only consisting of element that is 2, I will get that the position of placing 4 is at the end. So it is fine that I will place it at the end, that is 4. Now let us move on to the next number. That is equal to 3. Now what you can see here is that if I do this again, if I do binary search and find out what is the position of placing 3 here, it will tell that I will have to place 3 here. What it actually means that instead of taking 4 in the next position, why not take 3? So I will remove 3 and I will remove 4 and place 3 here. But still the longest increasing subsequence is the length of the dp the array I have. Like the array has 2 elements, so it means that the continuous is 3. I hope you get the point. So that is why I'm just updating out this array at any instant of time. What is the minimum element I can place at this point of time, so that it will continuously become increasing. Okay, so let us again, as you can see, let us put it as 6. Yeah. So what will happen is that now I will 5. So 5 will be placed at the end because I will do binary search over this dp, that is that the dp array that is continuously increasing, and find out the position of the current number where I have to place it. So 5 means that it should be placed at the 5 last element. So binary search can be used to find out what is the element, like what position I can be place this 5 to, because it is binary search means that it should be in a sorted manner. Okay, so if like you just assume that I'm building it in a sorted manner, 2, 3, 5, something like that, it should not be unsorted. So what is the next position I can place it? Because like if I place 5 here, then it will be unsorted. So the best position to place 5 is this. So if I place 5 at the end, then it is perfectly fine because it is continuously building out. Building means that it is good, but it should not be like breaking out. Okay, then what you can see here is that let's say this is 7. Okay, then what will happen is that from 5 it comes down to 7. So I will again put 7 here. Then it comes down to 6. Okay, or let's say it is 6. It is also 6. It comes to 6. Now what will happen is that 6 should be placed next to 5. So it is 7. So I will remove 7 and put 6 here. And then there's again 6. So I will put again 6 that is next to it, and it will be continuously, that is fine. Let's say that if I don't do this, okay, if let's say I don't do this, what will happen is that if I don't put a 6 here, if I continuously put a 7 here, this 6 will not be placed anywhere, and the next 6 will also be placed nowhere, because 6 cannot be placed here, it will become unsorted. And I cannot place 6 here because it is like continuously, it should be removed, like 6 7 should be removed because this place is filled. I cannot place any number in between. I can only extract out a number, or I can put, like I can remove out a number and place that number here. So I can only place the new number at the end, or I can replace any number in the middle. I hope you get the point. So if I replace this number, then only like 6 can come at this place, and then 6 can come to the next place. If I don't replace it, 7 still remain at this position, then I cannot place 6 at the middle, and I cannot place 6 here. So the total will become 4 only. But if I place 6 here, then both two 6s will be placed, and thus the total length will become 5. And now I hope you get the point. That is how these subsequences are formed using this TP table that is continuously building out. And then what will happen, that it is continuously building out. So I'll just find out the total length is 5. So 5 is the number of maximum subsequence that we can get, that is equal to 5. And then what we'll do, we can see that the total length is equal to 0, 1, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 numbers, and the total maximum subsequence I can get is length equal to 5. So remove out 2 elements from this element, like this array that we have, and then we can get out the maximum length subsequence. And thus we have to do this for all the k sub arrays that will form, and then we just print out a total number of removals we have to do. That is the whole logic of this whole problem. Cool. So let us move down to the actual solution. That is the k increasing, the total amount of elements that we have to remove, that is total. Then what we'll do, we have to find out the k sub array. So that is from 0 till k. We will form new arrays, that was like what we'll do, we'll start from the ith index and jump by k positions and push all the numbers, okay, one by one in this new vector that will form, that is v. So now this v is the new subarray extracted on from the original array that is only consisting of numbers, that is of the jump k, for which I want to find out the longest increasing subsequence. So I will call this longest increasing subsequence over this new vector that is formed by jumping over k elements, and just find out what is the longest increasing subsequence length is for this v vector and get the value in this val vector, like answer. Then what we'll see here is that how many numbers I have to remove is the total size of numbers in the the subarray that we have extracted out, that is v of size, minus the longest increasing subsequence, that is val. That is the number of elements that we have to delete out, and we have to add all of that over all the k subarrays. Got it? And then return out the answer. Now this is the longest increasing subsequence. What we have done here is that we have created a dp vector that will dynamically build. So we iterate over all the numbers in this array A. We'll do an upper bound, okay, to check that what is the position I want to fill this particular ith element. If it is at the end, we can directly push back at the end. If it is not, what we'll do, we will put that particular number at the position it can be placed by changing that particular number at that number, like whatever number is that at that position, change that. So this, like putting out a star, means that I am taking out the reference of that number, not the pointer. Reference means that I am pointing at the particular number that is at that position, changing that number to I. I means that I'm changing that particular number to the ith number I am on. That, let's say I have 6, so I will be changing 7 to 6. So that I'm like enforcing that 6 there in this DP that is particularly building out. And in the end, because everything is built out, whatever is the size of the DP array is the maximum subsequence length we can get. So we just return out that. Cool. So that is the whole process. As you can see that we are just iterating all the numbers, and for every number we are just doing binary search. So it is n log n, and for n log n is done, and we are just doing it for all these numbers. So I hope you get the point how we have done with this problem. The overall time complexity for this problem will be n log n only. So that is the whole solution for all the 4 problems. I hope you like the explanation for all the problems. If you still haven't doubts, you can mention down. Thank you for watching this video till this end. Okay, I will see you next one. Till then, keep coding and bye.